let's do 5 bold predictions for the Big Ten. I also want to take this opportunity to remind you that we have an audio podcast on Apple and Spotify, and as soon as I can find it here, am giving away, is here, these stickers to anybody that goes to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, fills out a 5-star review on both, then go to the link in the description below, fill out the form, and I will personally mail you a sticker as a way of saying thank you, giving my gratitude. I'm trying to get to 500 ratings on Apple in particular, get to 100 on Spotify before the season starts. I think we can do that. I will get everybody a sticker that does this because this is super important to me. And you guys have responded. And I will continue to make the podcast, put it out 3-4 times a week for those that want it, a little bit more frequently during college football season because we're playing games. But if you like the longer show and you don't necessarily want to watch it with, whatever impediments are on YouTube for you, I pay for premium, so I don't ever see ads. I don't know what that life is like. Hide the money. There's poor people around. But if that ain't what you doing, cool. Go to Spotify where there are no ads on my show, period, because I love you. You hear that? No ads on my show for the time being because I don't want them there. I want you to enjoy it. I want you to listen to it and give me the feedback. If you prefer ads, let me know. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If that is something you're into, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. What is your bold prediction for the Big Ten in 2025? I plan to make this kind of a reoccurring series as we are heading toward the end of preseason, the beginning of preseason, the end of preseason, depending on how you want to look at it. July is really when we start to pick up with the rest of the world in college football. But for now, in the dog days of June, let's do a few bold predictions. I think 5 is a good place for us to be because 5 gets us through, a segment. After that, you get to do an entire show. And that's why I think this is going to be a reoccurring segment as I continue to think of things that I find interesting to relate to you about predictions. So at number 5, I got Bret Bielema tweets your team. This is really a fascinating time to be an Illinois fan because Illinois expects to be a top 25 program during preseason. They might even be top 15, top 10 in someone's poll and someone's ranking. I think there's lots of reasons as to why, but the best one is Luke Altmaier returns, and Bret Bielema has done a really good job of putting together a defense and an offense that complements it. He wants to run the football. He wants to play sound defense. They want to keep the scoring down. And they showed us a lot against a great South Carolina team last year, a South Carolina team that won 9 games. And we're talking about Bret Bielema also having something to say about almost everybody else's payroll, right? He says, look, I know that somebody's spending between $40 and $50 million on their payroll, and he got absolutely yelled at for it. Come to find out, Texas Tech is spending around $55 million with revenue sharing on its entire athletic program, the bulk of which we expect to go to football and men's basketball. He might be onto something. But I say tweet your team because he's probably going to have something to say about the SEC, probably going to have something to say about whether or not they get 4 or 5 teams in, probably going to have something to say about just how strong the Big Ten is, and it is very strong. The next one on the list for me is Dante Moore throws for 4,000 yards and 40 TDs at Oregon. I realize that this one is wishful thinking for some, but I really am thinking about Will Stein, the Oregon offensive track record, and just how talented he is. Remember the last 2 guys they had start at Oregon, Bo Nix and Dylan Gabriel, both are guys that are capable of 4,000-yard passing seasons. And had Dylan Gabriel come through with one of those, we're talking about a guy that probably finishes his career as the NCAA's all-time passing leader. As it is, Heisman finalists will have to do, right? Same thing with Bo Nix. You throw for 40 touchdowns, throw 4,000 yards at Oregon, we're probably going to be talking about you as a Heisman finalist because you've won a bunch of games. But we're going to see what he's really made of when they play their whiteout game against Penn State. I mistakenly said in an earlier segment that I thought it was going to be. I said, well, I think it was a mistake because I didn't know. I thought it was going to be a big noon game. It's not. It's going to be a whiteout game at night. It's going to be a lot of fun. Dante Moore is going to get the full dose there. But if he plays well in that game, expect the Heisman conversation to really pick up around a guy that we've all known is really, really talented and really go. Given a year of sitting behind Dylan Gabriel, given a year of really trying to figure out where we might slot him in this new Big Ten, I think you're going to be in a great spot. Does he have Evan Stewart? No, but he's got dudes among them, right? Malik Benson, DeCorian Moore. They're going to have stable running back room. They're going to have a great offensive line. He's got all the things there. It's just him putting it together for what I think is going to be an outstanding season. The next one on the list has to be, for me, Michigan related. Bryce Underwood, going to throw for 3,000 yards, 30 TDs in year one. I don't think that's asking a lot. I think that's asking exactly what you would of a $12 million quarterback that is really running an offense that Chip Lindsey put into place for Drake May that made him into a 4,000-yard passer himself, one of the great players in our sport over the last 5 years, and the dude that is basically the guy, not basically, is the guy for the New England Patriots. Now, I say 3,030 and not 4,040 because I don't think Sharon Moore is going to allow for Chip Lindsey to just throw the ball all over the yard. And even if he did, he doesn't have the wide receivers to do it. Okay? That is a position of need at Michigan, but it's a position of need for those of us that play regular football. Michigan really just wants to play defense, and they would love to run the ball and never throw it at all, if at all possible. Like, we're making jokes about Davis Warren last year and Jack Tuttle and what Mikey Keene may or may not do once he gets healthy. But the fact of the matter is the former offensive lineman and offensive line coach wants to run the damn ball at Michigan. If you can use Bryce Underwood in play action scenarios, kind of like J.J. McCarthy, you're going to do that because that led to winning a national championship. Just isn't going to lead to Bryce Underwood setting the world on fire with outstanding passing seasons. I think 3,000 is a lot to ask, and 30 TDs is a lot to ask. But if you can do that with a wide receiver core that doesn't have anybody returning with more than 260 yards receiving in a single season, you've done something really great. And he's already a front runner to be Big Ten Freshman of the Year at the University of Michigan. Okay, next one on the list for me, Oklahoma beats Michigan. You had to see that one coming, right? You had to see that one coming. All the nice things that I and others have been saying about how Oklahoma has recruited, how Oklahoma has developed, and the addition of Ben Arbuckle, the addition of John Mateer, Jaden Knott, going along with Deion Burks, you got a three-headed monster there on the offense. And that was really the thing that held Oklahoma back in 2024. The offense was non-existent. Couldn't run the ball, couldn't stay healthy. I put a lot of this on Jerry Schmidt because guys were dropping like flies. You lose Nick Anderson to LSU, in part because he didn't trust the medical staff, but also the second best wide receiver of that group. Now you have to really rely on some guys to step up. Maybe Jaden Gibson gives you a little bit coming back off of injury. And you're also asking John Mateer to take care of the offense, meaning if it ain't there, tuck it and go. That's a guy that would sack adjusted yards, rushed for over 1,000 yards last year at Washington State. Now, Washington State did not play an SEC schedule. We know this. Jaden Knott, a guy that when he's healthy can be a 1,300-yard rusher for you. I think that's much more doable in the SEC, especially given what Oklahoma has shown with DeMarco Murray's room in the past 5-6 years, right? Eric Gray comes to mind, for instance. I think with Brent Venables calling the defense, you're probably going to be able to give Bryce Underwood some looks he hadn't seen before and really introduce him to big boy power football in a way that he hasn't played yet. This is going to be the big game on the schedule, non-conference game on the schedule for Michigan, and it's in Norman. I don't think it's out of line to pick Oklahoma to win that game, especially it being early on before this Michigan team finds out what it is and how it can respond. I expect Oklahoma to come in and be desperate. That's what you are if you're Brent Venables. People are talking about you getting fired if the season doesn't go well in 2025. And Jim Nagy is getting all of the praise that we would normally associate with a head coach. I mean, another way of putting this is, years ago, a head coach used to go on the caravan tour in the summer to raise money. And Bob Stoops used to do one or two of these, right? Now, Jim Nagy's doing 4 of these over the course of June and July because he's such a huge figure for Oklahoma, just of what his background is. And you can see it in the recruiting, right? They've recruited a bunch of guys that play multi-sports, a bunch of guys that are athletic, and nobody's seen more players and scouted more players in the last decade than Jim Nagy. He's got books on everybody, from the Power 5 to the Group of 6 to the FCS level to the NFL level, because everybody has let him into their doors. So I get it. But if you've been able to get that talent into the building, let this great coaching staff develop it, you probably can beat Michigan. And the one that I really want to go out on here is I think Matt Patricia at Ohio State is going to have a better defense than Jim Knowles at Penn State. Some of this is because I believe that Ohio State got a better roster. I think they're deeper on defense. I think when you can have the privilege of having a guy like Devin Sanchez as your third cornerback, you're pretty damn good. You've also got the pterodactyl, right? You got Caleb Downs, seeking whom he may destroy. He's in line for another outstanding season. I don't know if he's going to get to 100 tackles because they might not even be on the field that often, but you can do anything you want with him. And Matt Patricia, if nothing else, knows how to take a versatile player and make him even more versatile. He is putting in a defense that's simple to run, that allows for those players to play to their abilities. Now, I think he's going to learn what Jim Knowles learned. You can't be so basic that people predict you. You can't rely on athleticism alone to beat teams when they found ways to scheme against you. You have to blitz. You have to send 5. You have to send 6. You have to overload one side. You have to exploit the weakness in the offense that you see and guard the weakness in your defense that you know. I think Matt Patricia's background with New England is going to help him there. Again, I don't think that New England's ever had the most talented defense in the NFL. I think what they've had is a guy that knows what to do with the pieces he has. Now you've given him one of the best rosters in all of football, one of the best defenses in all of football, and saying, hey, look, this defense was number 1 in the country last year. All we need you to do is run it. I think at Jim Knowles' position, you're asking to take over for Tom Allen, who also was really good at this. But you don't have Abdul Carter at your disposal. You're going to have to do a lot with Zane Evans. You're going to have to do a lot with Dennis Sutton. And you're going to have to ask these corners to play a different kind of scheme. Remember, they're going to a 4-2-5. They're going to what Jim Knowles knows. He's not running an offense that they put in. He's running the offense that he put in. I think that's going to set them back just a little bit. I think that Ohio State-Penn State game is going to show us quite a bit. But I would not be surprised to find out we're talking about Matt Patricia as a Broyles Award finalist at the end of this thing and not Jim Knowles.